Morning, weirdos. I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted. Holy white out. How can sleeping make you so tired? Oy. Oy, wake up with songs in my head. My goodness. Oy, okay, going in. Go down. Going down. Oh. Well, that's just horrendous. If you can read my shirt, you know how I feel. One of those days. Just feel like crawling right back into bed. Yeah. Keep waking up with Kenny Rogers and Lucas Nelson in my head. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, that's good stuff right there. That, there's some good stuff. Okay, so tomorrow morning we'll be listening to radio shows again. I haven't got anything picked out, but at least I don't think I do. But yeah, you never know. Yeah, yesterday we were talking about KMET. If you got anything KMET related, shoot me a message. Otherwise, Thursday we're going to be talking about Willie Nelson movies. So if y'all want to watch a Willie Nelson movie or two, and hit me up in the comments, we'll talk about it. I think I want to do Redheaded Stranger in Barbarossa. Not to be confused with Barbarella. There's a mashup for you. Totally. Barbarossa-rella. Yeah. Yeah. So like anyway, you know, yeah, you know, far out. All right. Yeah. some days you just don't want to wake up, you know. And then, that being said, some days are even harder than others. This is a harder than other day. Anyways, look at that. Look at that in my foreground there. Look at that. Somebody left something in my foreground. I bet it was those dogs, huh? Yep, these dogs. And their blankets. Take that. Barbarossa. Barbarella Rosa. Willie Nelson in a spacesuit floating around naked, right? There's something. There's something you don't want to see. So, anyways, let's see, what was I doing yesterday? Yesterday was a rainy day. It was very, 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 very rainy all day yesterday on Monday. Yesterday was Monday, right? Gosh. It's sometimes hard to keep track of the days because I'll get up so early that sometimes after the show I'll just go back to sleep for a couple of hours, or I'll take a couple of hour nap before I get up and then go to work. So my day sometimes will get split in two, and while my split days don't last real long, they do, they do seem to be forgetful. Yeah. Because, you know, I split up my days and each day don't go too late. It's like half a day. That's a couple of hours and then I'm back in bed. It's just, I'm surprised I can even think now. I don't think I took a nap yesterday. No, I didn't. I sat in bed for a couple of hours, well, a few hours, playing The Sims on PlayStation 2. Yeah. You know, where you gotta take the character and you gotta move them out of mom's house and into somebody else's house and then get them smartened up so they can move on to somebody else's house and so on until eventually I guess they have a bunch enough money to buy their own place and yada yada. It's kind of a weird game, The Sims. I mean, you spend your time directing animated characters to eat, to go to the toilet, to go to sleep. I mean, it's a pretty goofball game, really. But then simulations aren't really games, right? Are they? I mean, are they, like, you know? I mean, oh, look at that. There's my bong. So there's this theory going about that it's possible that we could be living in a simulation. While there's no way there's no way that there's enough computer anywhere ever to generate everything all at once, right? In a computer simulation. So therefore, one of the going theories is that some of us are real, while some of us are real, some of us are simulated, right? And in a video game, the computer doesn't simulate the whole game zone all the time. It only simulates what is being viewed by the viewer, by the player, right? So that being said, a computer, it's possible that a computer could generate a simulation as real as ours. But what is reality, right? What is real? What is this? What is this? What is my sniffles? What is the coffee? Is there taste? Is there such thing as feeling? You know, this is all some kind of philosophical head trip. But it makes you wonder, you know, if they can make simulations in movies so realistic from nothing, from the ether, they can just ones and zeros and create the animation that we used to have to draw out frame by frame, right? Now they could create a world that generates unto itself a world, right? That we peek in on. So, I mean, how different is that from our reality, right? What does it all really mean? What's it all really about? This is why I don't like getting up too early, man. Because my head just starts going wow, 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 wow. Sorry for the sniffles again. It gets wintry. I get that post-nasal drip after eating and drinking. And I just can't seem to stop. Well, I tell you what I want to do here is a good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What do we got here? So it's almost a quarter after. It's January 23rd, 2024, right? 2024. Am I the only one my age and older that looks at 2024 and goes, what the fuck? How do we wind up in the future that is a fucked up place without the past, right? I take the past with me wherever I go, right? Every place I go, I take the past with me. And my world is an awesome place when I'm out and about. My world is is a fun, exciting place because I look at it from my era. I look at it from the past. I look at it from the days of yore, or my, everything that I see out there is new. And I try to experience everything out there as if it was new because, we're living in this weird future thing. I mean, how do I explain it to my 19-year-old daughter, who's only known this century? How do I tell her about why I'm so attracted to the 80s or the 70s or the last century? I mean, it's it's kind of a rough job to try to explain it all. I mean, if you hang around long enough, you'll start to get it. All right. So come on, join me on my time adventures. Well, I'm pretty sure that's Breakfast Club that I'm doing although it seems a little harsher. Maybe that's some of that leftover sativa from last night. Oh, yeah. What is that called? Bite you in the poo-poo. Early bird. Yep. That tells you. That tells you how early it is. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You see my cup here with the M on it? It stands for me, or mom, or Michael, or Mondre, or mine. Right now it stands for coffee. Oh, yeah. So I should be wrapping up home improvement tool time. Should be wrapping that up in the next week or so. Them boys are getting mighty big. Okay, can't read my shirt. It says I don't like morning people, or mornings, or people. Which is about how I feel. We're just about through with the second season of Barnaby Jones. Barnaby Jones is one of those shows where you think, crap, this is one of my grandma's shows, right? And you just flip the channel past it. But if you take the time to invest in the first couple of episodes, and then another, I think the first season is only 12 episodes, or I think it was a summer run. But what a great show. What a great vehicle for Buddy Ebsen and Lee Meriwether. And a billion other actors out there. Bradford Dillman showed up again. We talked about him from 1978 Piranha. That was a great movie. I really dig Bradford Dillman. He was a really plain ordinary, just really plain ordinary guy. But he had this quirkiness about his face. And this he's Bradford Dillman. I mean, just every little thing that he's in, he really just kind of goes for it, you know. It's a shame that he wasn't in any more movies than he was. He did a lot of TV, a lot of television. The guy was all over TV back in the 70s. And he hit a spot in a few movies. Just a great actor, Bradford Dillman. We'll have to do some Bradford Dillman stuff here. I'll get a warm up on the coffee here. let's see. I'd like to get somebody to check in from another part of the world, if that's possible. I don't know. I don't know how YouTube works. I know that when I look at my analytics on YouTube, I see that regionally, only 24 to 26% of my audience has been in the United States. It doesn't show me anything other than the 24 to 26% in the United States. The rest of the gauge is empty, is blank. So I don't know where my audience is. I would like to know if part of my audience is watching. Is that part allowed to leave a comment? Who the part of the audience that I cannot see? Like I said, I've got 41 subscribers now, and I can only see 9 of you, which only allows me to subscribe to 9 of you. I don't know who the others are, right? Because that's a lot of others. That's 30 some others, right? That's a lot. Dang. And then I don't know where you're at. I mean, are you in Istanbul, Morocco, Sydney, Beijing? I mean, where are you, people? I don't know where you're. I know where I'm at. I'm here in where the hell am I? I'm in Joshua Tree, California, Southern California High Desert. I'm out here near the Marine Base in 29 Palms. I'm out here near Palm Springs. I'm out here where they said, "Tell 'em Willie Boy is here," out in that area, Morongo, right? Y'all know where that is. You've all seen the movie, right? "Tell 'em Willie Boy is here." Well, there was a place out here, a restaurant that used to be called Willie Boy's. It was called Willie Boy's for like its entire life. When the latest me generation, the latest collection of hipsters showed up, it's been bought and sold a half dozen times in as many years. And it has recently had its name changed from Willie Boy's to Spaghetti Western. All right. Now, I'm sure it still has the Willie Boy's paraphernalia and stuff in there. I haven't been there yet, although I would like to go for open mic night. Willie Boy, he was I believe he was a half breed. And I don't remember whether that was half Mexican and half Indian, or half Mexican Indian and half white. I just know that he was a half breed. He kidnapped a white woman, and you'll have to watch the movie to find out any more than that, because I don't remember any much more than that. And "Tell 'em Willie Boy is here." That'd be a good movie to watch. Let's try to find that movie there and see if we can watch that. Is that what it's called? "Tell 'em Willie Boy is here"? I think it's what it's called. But yeah. So my audience, who are you? Where are you? What are you all about? I was born and raised here in Southern California. You can find out a little bit about me. I made a little 15-minute documentary about me and my early life. I'm going to be adding on to that and making a part 2 as soon as I can kind of wrangle the ideas together in my head and figure out exactly what I want to focus in on in the next segment. But yeah, who are you? Where are you? What are you all about? If anybody watches this portion of the show, leave a comment. Let me know where you're at. It's like stopping by a fancy restaurant or bed and breakfast, right? You want to sign in the guest book, so that we know who to appreciate, um, in paying our respects to those who have, helped us get this far. And that's kind of what I'd like to do. So if I can find out who you are when I get to the raffle point of the series here, and we can start getting people involved back and forth. I'd like to have silly things like T-shirts or other 1970s and 80s paraphernalia that I got lying around here. I've got a lot of stuff, and if I can get with you one-on-one, then I can kind of put together some prize or gift packet, kind of catered to you, the individual, because we're all different. We all, I don't want to send a Duran Duran poster or something to somebody who thought they were idiots. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I know that I get a lot of people stopping by and checking me out for a few minutes, and that's cool. I mean, I'm not really anyone's cup of tea. So just the fact that my videos have gotten any views or any likes whatsoever, to me is a freaking miracle. But yeah, I mean, with those of you who are paying attention and who are playing on and who do like to time travel on occasion, stop in. Let me know who you are, what you're all about, what's going on, because that's a lot of it's a lot of fun for me. My whole point of doing this is so that the world can get to know me, but so that I can get to know the world as well, because I don't do a lot of traveling. I haven't left the United States since I went to Mexico last, and that would have to be back in 1990. Yeah, 1990 or 91. That's a long time ago. So I haven't left the country in over 30 years. I haven't left the region that I live in for decades, right? We've lived in this same area for, since my daughter was in first grade. She's in her second grade of college, second year of college. And then aside from bouncing around Northern California, Northern Nevada, and Arizona, and I haven't left this region, the tri-state area here, as I call it. But yeah, I haven't left this area in forever. I mean, the last time I went east of Arizona or northeast of Utah. There, I was mistaken. I went to Utah twice in the last few years. Boy, was that pointless. So there, 4 states. I've been in 4 states in the last 30 years. It would probably have to be the mid-'80s, the last time I went east of Arizona, northeast of Arizona. And even then, I still haven't made it past Nebraska and South Dakota as far as how far east, right? So I'm not really a traveling man, but you guys are everywhere. So hook me up. Travel with me. Take me to where you're at. Show me where you're at. Talk to me about where you're at. I can give you an idea of what it's like to be here. And if you ever let me know in a comment that you're going to come out here, well, I'd love to meet you, get you on the show, hang out, find you a good place to stay, inexpensive place to stay. There's great places out here. There's the mainstream vacation rental scene, and then there's alternatives. So yeah, shoot me a comment and we'll talk about what to do and where to stay when you're in Joshua Tree. Because while our little basin, our little stretch of highway here out in the desert isn't pardon me, it isn't a densely populated area, and there aren't like businesses everywhere. But as far as concert venues, shows, bars, that kind of stuff, events, there's a lot out here. There really is. You can stay busy every weekend out here, having a ball, and never have to leave this hill up here. You never have to go down into Palm Springs, and if you do, it's only less than an hour away. On a good day, it's like a half an hour drive, whoosh, down to Palm Springs. Bada bing, bang, boom. And there's a lot up here scenically. There's the park, and we get over 2 million visitors a year now to the Joshua Tree National Park. And it's a wonderful place. If you've ever seen one of those prehistoric movies from the 70s or 80s, like Caveman, with Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach, Shelley Long, Dennis Quaid, Caveman, one of my favorite movies from my ditching days. But if you've ever seen one of those prehistoric caveman movies, like Land of the Lost, all right, you go into Joshua Tree, and there are certain places, most of the park, but all you do is look out your window and off into the rocks and the hills and the trees, and it feels like Grumpy the dinosaur is going to come over the eyes and try to gobble you up. It really is spectacular. It really is. Yeah, I mean, you just want to Fred Flintstone yourself around the place. It's a freaking awesome park. They just built a new visitor center at the east entrance of the park. I live here in Joshua Tree at the the west entrance. The 29 Palms entrance is now the main entrance with the big giant visitor center and store and all of that stuff. We have a visitor center here and a little store. It gets a lot of traffic, and it's right here in town. It's not up at the park, as is the visitor center in 29. It's right there in town, right off the highway, and then it's a few miles up the road to the park itself. But I mean, the whole area, from as far down as Rice Road, all right, which takes you out from Desert Center on the 10 out to the Parker Dam in Parker, Arizona. All right. But so like from Rice Road, where you get portions of the aqueduct and long stretches of railroad track, just long stretches of railroad track. So much so out in the middle of nowhere that people have taken to decorating the areas along the tracks. And I'll have to take a drive out. In fact, I took a drive out there years ago and took some video and some photographs. I'll have to dig through my stuff and see if I can pull that out, and then maybe take some more and match it up. But so like from there and then on in closer to here, you get like Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley is a wonder. It's where most of our watershed settles. So it's kind of a greener area, a lot of ranches, a lot of artists out in this area. This area has just a huge amount of artists. When they do the 62 highway tours, we get almost, or as much as 200 artists, studios, on the tour. So you can stop by 200 artists and their studios and look at what they do and how they do it and purchase art. Some of those studios are a collective of artists saving money and working collectively to be on the art tours. I was on the art tours once several years ago, well, back when I was in college studying art, and I joined a collective of artists out at a classmate, Michelle's house, and actually sold a piece. The piece that I sold was a reproduction of Saturn devouring its sun. I believe it was Gauguin, but it's just this dark image of a tall creature biting the head off of another smaller creature in his hands. So the Astronomy Society out in Joshua Tree here purchased it because they were doing the black hole collection, and it was they wanted a piece of art to represent every planet in our solar system, and they needed one for Saturn. So my reproduction of Saturn devouring its sun is permanently on display at the Astronomy Center in Joshua Tree here. So every once in a while I can go out there and take a look at it. Speaking of astronomy, we have a lot of astronomy and that kind of stuff going out here. We have the Astronomy Center, and they have big telescopes that they blast up into the sky and then blow it up onto big screens. So when they have events out there, we can view them down here on a big screen. And then we have the actual, what do you call those telescopes? Space telescope, what do they call them? An observatory. So we have an actual observatory out here between the entrance to the park and the new park entrance, or the new park, shop. And it's out. I haven't been out there yet. It looks spectacular from the photos that I've seen. So I'll have to check that out. I took astronomy one summer out here when I was going to college, and I never had the chance to take the lab portion of the astronomy class, which would have been really, really nice to be able to go out at night and look up at the stars and telescopes and learn more about what's going on, map the sky and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot going on out here. You got Wonder Valley, and on all the art, there's the glass outhouse, which I've had some work displayed out there. Let me warm my coffee up. There you go, Sam. There you go. It seems the later my show goes, the more the dogs join me. I hate walking into the foreground. Chops my head off. Come on, Sam. Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on. Come on. There you go. That's my boy. Blanket boy. You and your blankets. I know, Sam. I know. You're a kook. I know. You like to get covered up. There you go. Okay. Back down we go. Hi. Good morning. Good morning, my boy. Thanks for joining me. Hi. Anybody see you? Can anybody see you? Oh, you're so dark. You just blend right in. You want to go back to bed? Oh, you want to go back to bed? There you go. I know it's too early. Thanks for coming out. Okay, so back to what's going on out here in Joshua Tree and the Morongo Basin. That's what they call it up here from Morongo Valley, which is close to the Painted Hills, and then the 10 freeway, the Painted Hills, Morongo Valley, Yucca Valley, then here Joshua Tree, and then on down to 29 Palms, and then further on down to Wonder Valley. So coming this way from the east, Wonder Valley, and then 29 Palms. 29 Palms is where we have the Marine base that's been out here forever. It's been in countless movies. I just watched an episode of, what is that? Home Improvement with Tim Allen. And it's the episode where he comes out with the Marines to drive a tank, and they let Jill, his wife, drive a tank too. So it's Tim the Toolman Taylor and his wife Jill, each driving tanks. And of course, Tim runs amok and destroys a couple of golf carts. But it's very obviously the 29 Palms Marine Base from every angle that they shoot. I recognize there's one shot from the golf course looking, I don't even know if there's really a golf course out there, looking out toward the town of the Marine Base and the hills, and you can see the ammo dumps along the hillside. But you know, when you're, I don't know if it's if it feels common to live next to a military base, but here in Southern California, we've got an abundance of military bases. I mean, I'd like to really look at a map and see an older map and see where all of the military bases, Air Force bases, naval bases were and are and were, because there are many were closed down. I remember in the 80s or 90s, there was a bunch of bases being closed down for budget reasons. But it would be neat to look at some older maps and see where all of these bases are. Because here, you know, over near Fallbrook, hi Bessie, he's got this bed here. Good morning. Over near Fallbrook, we have Camp Pendleton, and I lived in Fallbrook twice in my life, once as a fourth grader and once as a first-year husband, and lived there right on the fence line, literally right on the fence line, both times of the Marine base. In a community with a lot of Marines, just like this community here. There's a lot of Marines in the 29 Palms area, and a lot of Marine families, a lot of military families in the area, and they come and they go and they come and they go. A lot of retired military from all branches. My father went to school at UCSD down in San Diego, and we would frequent the Miramar Air Base down there. He would often go there to actually take video footage of planes taking off and small pieces of documentaries and things that he was doing for classes. And then March Air Force Base, right there in Marine Valley area, right? I mean, that's right. I mean, we like live right in between all of these, you know, military bases. There's like Coronado Island. There used to be a big military base in Los Angeles, wasn't there? And I believe there are still remnants of the old military base. Every once in a while in an old movie, you can see reference to um, the military might that we had back then. Edwards Air Force Base further north. Um, so yeah, we're just kind of everywhere you go, you see a military base. But out here, we get a lot of traffic between the two military bases, between the military base Camp Pendleton and here, and then north of us in the Barstow area, I believe there is a depot along the rail lines. There is a depot where they bring military vehicles in and out, and on occasion you can see them. What do you call it? You can see them convoy from Barstow, but most times their convoy goes back and forth from Camp Pendleton to here, and it's part of their training. Moving a heavy equipment, moving that stuff around. It's part of their gig, so they've got to move it back and forth and bring it out here and test it, and go back out there and test it, and they're back and forth. The neat thing about out here is they can use their tanks as they would normally use them out in the desert, and they can bomb the shit out of the desert out here. We hear it all the time. My windows are always rattling. At least once a month, my windows are rattling for a day or two. And oddly enough, around the holidays, they do a lot of war games, if you will. If you drive out a couple of miles from here, and if you drive northeast out on one of my roads, you get to a corner of the military base where the road dead ends at the military base, and there's no fence, but there are markers going this way and then markers coming this way, and so we go right into a piece of the base, and then kind of have to skirt the edges of it. But if you head out that way and you look up on the hillside on the military base, way out there, miles out there, you can actually see, and you can find it on satellite photos and Google Earth and that kind of stuff, but you can actually see a collection of storage containers, right? Set up in a city-like pattern, and I call it Little Fallujah because undoubtedly it is set up to resemble portions of an area that they would be wanting to get familiar with, and I believe that is the area where they do their ground war game stuff, so like laser tag type stuff, but they ain't shooting laser bombs because those things are loud. They're a real heavy duty ordnance being blasted out there, but the traffic is constantly coming through. So it's one of the things. On any given day, you could be witness to a car show, or to an old hot rod show. Could be sitting at a parking lot anywhere along here, and they'll just gather. Dozens of them will just gather like that. You see tanks in a convoy, miles long convoy going out to the base or coming from the base. You can see miles long a train of motorcycles. We get motorcycle organizations that come through. Bikes, Dykes on Bikes is a big female motorcycle organization to come to them. I only use that term because that's the term that they use when they come through town, they're, the town advertises them as, the Dykes on Bikes are coming through town this week. So, I just go with whatever, the majority goes with, and the majority has given them that moniker, that label. So there you go. So if you're out here during the 62 art tours, it's like 2 or 3 weekends in a row. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But if you're ever out here for that, you can literally spend 2 or 3 weekends every day going from artist to artist to artist to artist, and be witness to just about every kind of art and media that you could possibly think of. There are people out here, acquaintances that raise these long hair sheep and goats, right? And they shear these animals and run it through one of those weaving or one of those spinning deals and create yarn, and then create hats and gloves and sweaters and things out of this. They use the goat milk for soap and create soap. There are people out here that create every kind of ceramic product you could think of. There are photography studios, film studios, music studios. All you have to do is go stand out on the corner, raise your hand and say, I need to record a song. Where can I find a music studio? You won't have to stand there long. Where can I find an artist, right? You can literally close your eyes, pick up a rock and throw it, and you're going to hit somebody who is some form of an artist. It's like that crazy out here. We have famous people who live out here. I won't say their names because anonymity is a big deal out here. We have a lot of stuff going on out here. When you get to 29 Palms, you can spend a day in 29 Palms driving around to the shops and the art studios, the restaurants. Go get yourself a marine flat top and get yourself a tattoo, and go get your portrait done at a photography studio, and then have the same portrait painted at another. Have yourself sculpted, have some jewelry made, go buy some records and tapes at the old record shop. There, you could spend. I've been out here, 10 plus years, and still haven't seen, 10%. There are many venues in 29 Palms. Now we have different types of venues, all right, because we've got these bed and breakfast type places with these big giant pieces of property and stages and yards. There are venues in places that you never would have thought they would be holding concerts. Yeah, maybe a barn, a keg party or something, but 600 people at a concert. I mean, criminy. And because the venues are small, no matter where you're at in a lot of these venues, you're right there. You're like right next to the stage, Even if you're just 12 people away, you're still so close. It's still intimate. Every place, the clubs, the bars, between here and 29 is the college, and they have a lot of events. They have sporting events. They're starting to come into their own. They've got some great volleyball teams. We just went and watched some of the local high school volleyball, and then they've got college volleyball, high school basketball, college basketball. Yucca Valley's got a great football team, the Trojans. Copper Mountain College has the Fighting Cacti basketball team, men and women teams. And art. There's a lot of art at this college as well. And then every time you turn around, there's some new studio or venue or gathering spot. Coming into 29 Palms or coming into Joshua Tree here from the east, they just in the last couple of years finished. They're still, working out a few things, but they just finished the auto camp, and it is a 1960s, 1950s throwback to auto camping, when you would take your little Airstream trailer and you drive around the country and you'd park your little Airstream trailer, and visit the world. And what they did was they created this campground, this really, really nice desert campground with a desert feel. And they installed a few dozen Airstream trailers. I mean, literally brand new. When they showed up, it was just a big to-do. We sat up here and watched them bring in and deliver trailer after trailer after trailer for weeks. They were bringing, okay, here comes another couple of new trailers, and they sat out there with all of the white paper shielding them. And then they finished their spots, their sites, and they started parking all of these and unwrapping them and building the canopies that would cover the benches. And so it's a beautiful park, a beautiful auto camp. Literally, you show up in your car and there's your trailer. And it's an Airstream, fully air conditioned, fully heated, silver. So it doesn't get hot out here in the desert, right? It just reflects the heat. You get turn on that dual therm, air conditioner and crank that puppy up. And along with the dozens of Airstream trailers, and don't quote me on the numbers, because it feels like there's a million Airstreams out here, but they've got these long, dark. They're like modern versions of the long trailer with Desi and Lucy, right? But they're long and they're tall and they're like custom, big sliding doors, glass doors, just huge. So they've got like a half dozen or so of those. So that I would imagine, because you would need more room. Well, these are more room. They're huge. And then they've got, it looks like they've got a dining and a store and some kind of, they're using the Quonset hut type buildings, right? And they've got two of those over there, and they just look phenomenal. So they kind of match the idea of the silver Airstreams with the silver round top buildings. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's right off Highway 62, so you can actually see it from the highway driving through town. And as you're coming into town, you're like, oh my God, look at all these Airstreams. They must be having a convention, a bunch of Airstream club. No, it's not a club. You can go and stay in one of these things. Come out and rent an Airstream, and you are literally within walking distance to everything here in town, staying in one of those Airstreams. It's an understatement to say that you'd have a blast when you come here. Because like I said, on any given night, there are concerts and bands playing everywhere. I can literally, and as soon as I get up to 50 subscribers, I can go out mobily with my phone and take you through all of these places, because I can literally go out on a Friday or Saturday night and walk through town and walk from bar to club to venue and see a half dozen bands jamming just here in town. All right. And that's not to mention what happens on the outskirts of town or within the town limits. And then that's just our little Joshua Tree. And as far down as Wonder Valley and as far, west as Morongo Valley and Pioneer Town and the park, everything in between. Even out at the park, they've got concerts out at the Keys Ranch. They do concerts out there. It's just amazing. And it's only been the last few years where I've started to open my eyes and see what's going on out here. I thought it was just art. And, thanks to my daughter and David and a few other catalysts, I've gotten back into the music thing. And, when you want to see it, you see it. It's there. It's everywhere. It's all around you. When you just put your blinders on and go, you don't recognize anything. You don't see anything. You don't notice anything. And my God, it's everywhere out here. It's just everywhere. Yeah. So just here in Joshua Tree, out near the college, there's a place called Joshua Tree Lake, and it's a pond. It's a fish pond. I don't know if it's a natural watering hole or if it's man-made, but it's there, and it has fish, and water and reeds and pussy willows and all those things. So it's got life out there, but it's also built right. It's got a trailer park, mobile home park, trailer park built around it. But that's where the astronomy center is. That's where they blast those telescopes up and put it out on big screens. That's where my art is on display out there. My one piece of art that I've sold professionally anyway. That's where they hold the Joshua Tree Music Festival, which I've never been to. I've been invited to go and been invited to go work, but it's it's like a 3-day thing, maybe a couple of weekends, and it just out in the heat. Nah, it's too much. We've got the spiritual retreat center out here that has been out here forever. It's got a Frank Lloyd Wright building on the premises, and I did some painting out there in that Frank Lloyd Wright building. But they hold, among other things, they used to hold Contact in the Desert. It was the original site for Contact in the Desert. That alien phenomenon thing. George Tsoukalos, the guy with the hair, ancient alien theorist people. Years, this was the spot where they would come out and they held there. And they had buildings where they would have lectures and all the too out of control. So they had to take it down into Palm Springs or the Coachella area, down in that area, right? And the parking there was an issue, right? I mean, they had a huge, giant chunk of desert fenced off. And because you can't fuck with Joshua trees or cactus or cholla or any of that shit out here, it's illegal to fuck with anything. Or you're not allowed to just drive out and park. anywhere. So parking became an issue. The venue is a little odd, the Spiritual Retreat Center. So I think it just became too cumbersome to try to put it on out here. Plus, we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere to stay, at least, when we started doing Airbnb rentals out here and doing some cleaning, there was less than 400. There was only a couple of hundred of vacation rentals out here in this area. And within just a few years, it has gone from a few hundred to a few thousand. And now we're over a couple of thousand vacation rentals within just our Joshua Tree area. And that's crazy, because that's like so many of the homes here that people don't have a place to live out here anymore. You're damned to try to find a home to live in, right? And it's the desert, so you'll find more ranch homes and modern style homes than you will apartments. Apartments out here are like unicorns. There's very few apartment buildings, very few trailer parks and mobile home parks, because this is the cheapest place to live out here, is in a mobile home park or in a trailer park or in your freaking van down by the creek. I mean, vacation rentals and tourism is the number one source of dollars out here. So people have literally turned their homes into Airbnbs and then have moved in with their family, right? Because there's just so much money to be made. But because there are so many Airbnbs out here, the tourist to rental ratio is just out of whack now. So whereas we used to be cleaning, almost every day or every other day, a couple of places a day, now we'll be lucky to get a couple of places a week to clean. Pardon me. And, I'm an old, beat up, partially disabled, semi-retired stoner. So, I'm not rushing out anywhere to go, put my body through any more pain working anywhere. But sometimes it's busy and sometimes it's not. It used to be busy all the time, and now it's not. So I think we'll have to change the houses a little bit and try to get some of that tourism back, because everybody wants something different now. Everybody wants something, they don't want to go and stay in a house that looks like their own house or looks like Aunt Molly's house. They don't want to do that. We're going to Grandma's. And since the places have been redecorated, they look really sterile and really, really lame, actually, and I'm kind of bummed at that. So I think I'm going to have to do something different and try to get those tourists back, because all you have to do is, give people something a little different than what they're used to. And I'm a time traveler, so I'm used to different. To me, different is the same. It's my past is different. But yeah, back to what to do here. I mean, so like there's a million. Some of these places you can rent are big enough that you can hold your own event. All right, they've got big giant yards. There's a place out here north of us that's called, or used to be called, Hicksville. Like you're a hick. So Hicksville, it was a Hicksville trailer park. And what they did was they had this big, giant, fenced-in few acres of property, all right? And they had a main house, because it used to be just a house. The main house has a recording studio in it, or did. It had an outbuilding that had a pool table, ping pong, that kind of stuff, some video games, some vending machines, showers, toilets, and then above that was a jacuzzi and a sunbathing deck. And then aside from that was a pool, a covered area with some circular a round table, swinging chair, metal get up. There was shuffleboard. There was an archery range. There was a small um, mini golf course, some other outbuildings, um, and then there were several trailers, a long trailer, um, um, a circus cage wagon from the old days that was turned into a trailer in a circus theme. A couple of small canned ham trailers, and those are the little short ones. That's just like a bed and a bathroom and a kitchenette, and that's pretty much it. Um, there was, you remember Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie? He stayed in a caravan, a horse-drawn caravan, kind of a round top thing, and that actual vehicle was there on the property, and then several other small little trailers, including an Airstream. And then at one point they dug a moat and installed a houseboat, and you could stay in a houseboat on the water with a glass floor, so you could look down, and I think they were going to stock it with fish. There's a small house near the property that you can rent that's called the Zombie House, because it is you go inside and you can board it all up and feel like it's in a zombie apocalypse, and it's just one of those little things. So if you've got some kind of gimmick, you can bring more people in. And if your gimmick is music, well, then set the place up for music so that people can come and feel like they're doing music stuff. Some recording equipment, some musical instruments, some video stuff, so that you could hang out and do that. If you want to time travel, then give yourself a 1950s feel. Give yourself a rockabilly thing. Give a country western. Give yourself some kind of brand, right? That's the new word, brand. Well, brand your place. Go big if you're going to do it. Go big or go. So there's a lot of places to stay out here. If you're looking for a place to stay, let me know and I can direct you to some great places to stay. There's a friend of mine has a place right here in town, within walking distance of everything. Another place, we've got other places that are within town, that just up the street from town, where you can actually look out and see the town from on high. Places that are up near the park. A friend of ours who has a local motel out here, and he's a really cool dude. So there's a lot of places to stay, just a cajillion places to stay, and a billion places to visit, right? It's pretty awesome. There's a lot of food out here, believe it or not. There's so much food, and even then, the places are always so busy. There are restaurants and bars and eateries, roadside places. There's just so many food options out here. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. You can just show up, get a place to stay and party the whole time you're here. Or if your thing is adventure, mountain biking it, the park is your spot. If you're off-road vehicle, go north of here and you're in Landers and Lucerne area, where they do the come on people, the Hammer, King of the Hammers, right? And there's off-road vehicle areas out here. In fact, one place, the closest place out here, is where Giant Rock is. And if you've ever heard the story of Giant Rock, you know what I'm talking about. If not, Google Giant Rock, Landers, California, and look at the history on that. What a bizarre history around a big giant rock. Who'd have known, right? Who'd have thunk? And then the Integratron, which I believe is probably on its way out. And Google that, Integratron. We've got an orchid nursery where you can visit and tour and buy an orchid, you know, a living orchid. Yeah, Pioneer Town is an actual old West town that was actually used in Old West movies, you know, back in the Gene Autry days. Gene Autry, or was it Roy Rogers? One of those, I think it was Roy Rogers, built a bowling alley out there because while they were shooting, his people had no place to go. His cast and crew had no place to go other than Palm Springs. And Palm Springs wasn't all that great back then, but it was too far away. It was dirt roads back then. So it was too far away to go from Palm Springs out to the Pioneer Town and shoot and then go all the way back. So he created a motel camp area with a bunch of buildings, rooms, and he created this big barn building where they could go in and do soundstage stuff and play their music. And then he built his cast and crew a bowling alley. I think it was like a 2 or 3 lane bowling alley. And that's still there. It was shut down for years, and I believe it's been reopened. All of the little things that are normally false fronts on buildings for like shooting a movie, all of that is actually has buildings on the back of it, and most of those are working shops, artists, and there's a small little film museum out there in one of those little storefront buildings. There's the Pioneer Town Pappy and Harriet's. They do an Old West shootout in town, the Old West Wild West show. There's a Red Dog Saloon that recently opened up that does concerts as well. It's really starting to grow. You know, the hipsters come in, they start to gentrify the place and clean it up and take the old and give it a new twist. And it works, and it really draws in the crowds. And that's kind of what Joshua Tree has done here, is they've taken the old and given it a twist, and people are loving the hell out of it. Yeah, it's a freaking awesome thing. It's good stuff right there. You see, I'm awake now. My post-nasal drip is gone. It's gone for the most part. No longer sniffling, because I hate it when I'm just sniffling all morning. But you know, you get up, it's cold. You start putting stuff in your body, and your body starts waking up. You know, you guys don't care about this. That's okay. This is my world. This is my world. Thanks for stopping by my world. Yeah. Anyways. So, like, you know. Yeah. There's a lot to see out here. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I don't want to give away all of the secrets, but I'll have to put together a tour video and kind of give you a quick tour of what's in town here and the things that we've got. I mean, images keep popping into my head of things to do when you're out here. I mean, if you come out here and you spend like Friday and Saturday night, right? That's just not enough time. I mean, you would think, come on, I go to LA and I'm like there at night, and I just have a ball. Well, that's fine. But if you're only, going to encapsulate, yourself into one little thing, that's cool. But I mean, you can literally go for a drive and drive into the park and spend the day there, just driving, getting out, walking around, photo ops, checking out the wildlife, and then back in the car, and then literally a half mile down the road, you're pulling over again going, oh my God, there, we got to check this out. Look at this. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And, say cheese, and then you're on, hundreds of yards down the road and you're doing it again. You're literally hanging out the window. There's a part when you get into the park, and especially in spring, it's just beautiful because everything is just green out there. And you come up over this one spot, and it is literally a forest of Joshua tree. I mean, you have no idea. You see these funny little trees alongside the road when you're driving out 395 and up, through the desert, going out to Vegas or whatever, and you see these funny little gnarled looking little trees with their arms twisted going in every different directions. And it's one thing to just see them sparsely spread out, or even if there's a lot of them, it's nothing compared to what it is when you get into the park. Now, if you're going from Vegas and you get to that Prim, Nevada area coming south, and you get off at Nipton Road, and you go east on Nipton Road, and then down to where it tells you to go to SEMA, and I don't remember the other name, but you take that road there, and it takes you through the Mojave and dumps you out on the 40 just outside of what is the name of that place? So it dumps you out on the 40. But when you come from that Vegas side, from Nipton Road there, and you're driving through, on your way through the Mojave there, it reaches a point to where the trees are so thick on either side of the road, and they've just had a fire a few years back, so a lot of it is black. But it comes back really quick, even more so after it burns. But you look out and you can't see anything but the green of the trees on either side. You can't see the hills beyond. You can't see any of the other. It's really heavy through there. You get the same effect when you go up through one portion of the Joshua Tree National Park as well, where the trees are just a blanket of Joshua tree everywhere. And then these giant protrusions of boulders, like if you were an ant and somebody were to take a little pinch of sand and dump it in front of you, right? And you see all of these boulders. It's just, it's otherworldly. It's of another time, this place. Now, Mojave is similar, but it's very different. Joshua Tree, the landscape is just littered with these boulders and these piles of boulders and these giant, massive chunks of rock that just seem to loom over you when you stand near them. So yeah, Joshua Tree National Park. Wow, y'all gotta check that out. Shoot me messages. I'll hook you up with some information on it, or just Google the place. But if you're gonna stay out here, talk to me. Because it is a fantastic place to come, and I'd love to get you close to town, or out at near the park if that's where you want to be. But you can stay in a freaking Quonset hut if you want. You can stay in one of those yurt. You can stay in a yurt. You can stay in a dome. You can stay in a teepee. You can stay in a tent. There's so many options, or just in a standard 1960s motel room. Pretty much still has the feel of a Route 66 motel room. Yeah, I still can't remember the name of that place out there that's right on old Route 66. Some days my brain just don't want to cooperate. But yeah, even out there with the little roadside Route 66 cafe and gas station, post office. There's an old schoolhouse out there, an old motel where the buildings are in great condition, but it's an unused motel. And I think they don't even have doors and windows on the buildings anymore. The railroad goes right through there. There's the salt extraction area there. There's a crater. There's a big volcanic crater out there that you could park and hike to. God, I wish I could remember the name of this place. I'm gonna have to get on my map here real quick so I can give you the name of this place that's between here and the Mojave. Where are you? Where Amboy? That's it. Amboy is right on an old stretch of Route 66. And while only half of this stretch is accessible, it has that old roadside feel to it in that cafe. And I think it's just a museum now. I don't think that you can even eat. I don't even know if you can still get gas out there, although I did get gas out there once, and it was like twice the price of regular gas. But what are you going to do, right? So that's a neat place to check out. That's within an hour of here. You can go out to Sawtooth, which is about an hour from here, out north of here, out on Highway 241. Old Woman Springs Road takes you out to Lucerne and Barstow and Apple Valley and Victorville area. But you can go out toward Barstow and go to Sawtooth Canyon Park. And it really is a Sawtooth Canyon. You go park out there, and standing there in the middle of this canyon, all the ridges all the way around, look like a sawtooth, a jagged sawtooth or a shark's teeth. It's just, it's awesome. It's awe-inspiring. You can go out and walk along up into some of the jagged areas. There's a monastery out in the same area that it is an actual working, living monastery. I do not know the particulars. I myself would love to go visit the monastery someday and find out more about it, and more about, what exactly they're doing out there. You can drive a little over of an hour southeast of here, and there's an old mining ghost town And part of the mine is still working, but the portion that has an old town on it is defunct. And I think they only have a couple of the houses out of a few hundred houses and foundations and stuff that are, only a couple that are still actually being used, and probably by caretakers who have to, maintain the place themselves. But so you got a ghost town out there. You got the movie studio here in Pioneer Town. You got Palm Springs within an hour of here. Within an hour west of here is the Morongo Casino, which has a huge nightlife, the reservation there, and between and then right next to that is the shopping outlets. So there's like hundreds of stores, like right along in one area. You park and shop till you're, till you die. Shop till you drop. And so that's really close to here. We're just a couple of hours away from Hollywood. So there's that. We're, 3 hours outside of Vegas. A couple of hours to San Diego. A couple of hours to Lake Havasu, Parker, Arizona area. We're really, for fun, we're in a pretty good spot, and we don't have to deal with the city. We don't have to deal with the city freeways and the city traffic until we go out that far. Otherwise, we just got our highway here, Highway 62, and it's, it can get busy, but, it ain't the 5. And that's cool. Yeah, lots of eating, lots of late night partying, lots of daytime stuff. I mean, we have a few parks. We've got parks where you can go walk. We have the national park, and then we've got some, city parks. If it's hot, take the kids down to the park here in Joshua Tree and let them run through the water and hop on the swings and stuff. Sports is a big thing around here. So there's a lot of little sports parks where you can go play tennis, basketball, football, soccer, baseball, softball, anything that you want to do physically. We can accommodate you out here. Anything you like to do for fun, we can accommodate you out here. We have a couple, not movie theaters, but actual theaters. I know we have one here in Joshua Tree, the Music and Arts Center here. I forget what it's called. I don't want to look on my maps again. But it's just right here in town. And they have a playhouse there. There hasn't been much going on lately. I don't think we've had anybody, any producers or directors, local to the area that have wanted to put anything on, I guess is why. But there have been a lot of music events happening at this venue. My daughter did her violin music recital in one of the auditoriums there, and they're not big places. And then just recently we had a heavy metal festival out there that was like a 2 or 3 day thing with multiple bands on each day. And small time stuff. Not I used to be into the hard heavy stuff, and every once in a while I'll put on some Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or Metallica or something heavier. But I, for the most part, I'm an easy listening guy. So I don't go in for that hard stuff too much anymore. So I didn't go to this. Friend wanted to go, but I was like, yeah, go for it. I don't want to do it. My daughter has a thing coming up at some point that she wants to go to, that she's got tickets for, to an all-day deal, so she can see a couple of her favorite bands. And that's cool. I told her, well, you got to get, if you're going to take someone, that's fine, but if you're not going to take someone that that drives and you're not going to be driving, you got to get an extra ticket so that you can find that person who is going to be the driver, and you got to find a responsible, reliable person. I used to be that person. I'm still that person. But I used to, when I was younger, I was that person who was the reliable, responsible guy. We'd go out to Hollywood or out to a concert or party or something. Excuse me. And I would be the guy that would stay sober so that I'd smoke a little weed, but I would be the guy who would stay sober so that I could get us all home safe, you know. And, I think the only time that I didn't stay the sober guy and be the ride home, funny story. It was 1980 something. Somebody post what year there was the Power Slave Iron Maiden tour, right? So we get tickets to. We used to go from Lake Elsinore into Riverside next to the Tyler Mall to the Ticketmaster ticket place. And we used to get tickets to the show. So we get a bunch of tickets. Tickets back then were like $20 max. You could buy general admission concert tickets for $20. Even the seats weren't that expensive. You could, for a few bucks, you could take all of your friends to go see a concert, as long as you were the guy standing in line and getting the tickets. So we used to get tickets, and we got extra tickets to go to Iron Maiden Power Slave one night at the Orange Pavilion in Riverside there, I believe. I don't remember where the hell it was. Tell me where the Orange Pavilion is or was. It was like we borrowed my friend Steve's brother's truck. Right, he had this pickup truck with this camper shell on the back, and we needed a little extra room for all the people to load into the back of this pickup truck, this camper shell, right? Because we had gotten a bunch of tickets to go see this Iron Maiden concert, and so my friend Steve borrows his brother's truck, Mick. Remember this, Mick? So Steve borrows Mick's truck, little yellow Mitsubishi or something, I think it was. And we wind up with this extra ticket where we're fully everybody's ready. We got everybody that we can take with us, everybody that we can find that's going, and we wind up with one extra ticket. And it was like, okay, we got one extra ticket. Who are we going to get? I said, I know who we can get to go. And we stopped by, and I don't believe I was living at home at the time. Because I had left home at 15 and was out on my own with the help of a lot of friends and their families. So we stopped by my home, which was just a motorhome bus parked in somebody's yard, and found my father and invited him to go with us to the Orange Pavilion to see Iron Maiden. All right. And my father, he's, I would have to say that he's 30, so he's in his 40s at this point, and he's got a big forehead like me at this point, and short hair, and he used to wear a shirt and tie fixing office machinery. So he had a short haircut and a shirt and tie, and shiny shoes and slacks, and he wore these dark Ray-Bans, and so he always looked like my friends who would visit for a long period of time from the mid 80s to the mid 90s. They thought he was a cop because he just looked like a police detective, literally. I mean, it was scary. I've got this photo up here of him just standing in the doorway, and he would just show up at a friend's house or wherever we were, and he would just show up like at Andy's house, and he would just kind of walk in and then quietly walk in and stand in the doorway. And if you didn't know him, I mean, people would get up and run out of the house thinking that we were getting busted. All right. Hey man, there's a cop standing over there. What? There's a cop standing in the doorway, man. There's a cop standing in the doorway, man. And people would really freak out when they would see him. So, going back, So we stopped by wherever the bus was at this point, and we picked him up and we took him with us to this concert, right? And of course, he did not dress like a cop that night. You know, I think he just wore a t-shirt and a flannel and a pair of jeans. But he's in his 40s. He's in his early. He's around 40-ish, I would believe, 47. So yeah, he's around 40. Late 30s, early 40s. He's around 40. I don't remember when Power Slave Tour was, people. And we borrowed Steve's brother's truck. Did I mention that Steve's brother, Mick, at the time was an LAPD officer? I don't think I mentioned that. Well, my father is my father. If you've been paying attention, you know what that means. And at the time, in Lake Elsinore, there was a lot of acid going around, a lot of LSD, right? And so along with a lot of weed that night, we took with us to the concert, you know, a cooler with some beers, so that when we got there, we could slam a bunch of beers before the show. We took some hits of acid so we could enjoy the show that way, right? And there was probably some other party favors going on, probably a little cocaine. And my father's an old time partier, right? So it was like, yeah, you know, he has sent me with my brother to see Robert Plant, and he's taken me to see the Doobie Brothers at Del Mar and the Rolling Stones at Angel. So it was like, you know what? I'm at the point now to where I can say, hey, old man, you want to go to a concert? And, you know, and take my father to a concert. And we did. We took the old guy the old guy, you know, he's 10 years younger than I am, 15 years younger than I am now. And he's sure, what the fuck? So it's me and the old man and Steve up front. So the old man on one side, Steve driving, and then me in the middle. And we're in there, you know, rolling joints and getting high and stuff all the way to the Orange Pavilion. And then we get to the parking lot, and the parking lot is a party of metalheads just having the time of their life. You know, fights and brawls and drunks and, you know, topless girls running around. It was just a ball. So we're at this concert, and we get in there, and my father just takes off, right? And he's a concert, so, you know, there's girls everywhere. He wants to, you know, grab a little tushy and check out all the boobs and the topless girls and kind of mingle, you know. And I wasn't really like that. Me and a couple hung way back and got up on the this block concrete foundation to the metal structure. Was really, really tall, and you had to grab it and pull yourself up. And I was a, you know, 90-pound weakling with no upper body, so I had to, you know, I was looking like a cartoon character trying to get up this thing. And we got up there and then got kicked off by security, and then had to get down. But throughout the evening, I got reports of my father up all the way up to the front stage. And I was witness to him being up, right up on the front during one of the, whether it was Warrior, is that who opened? I can't remember who. It wasn't Accept. I think it was Warrior. And so they, during, you know, that or Iron Maiden, my father was right up front, you know, because that's where people are passing doobies and stuff and having a good old time. And people there was a mosh pit right behind him, and people kept slamming into him, right? And he didn't know what the fuck was going on. He thought it was a fight, and he thought people were trying to involve him in a fight. And every time somebody would bump into him or slam into him, he would turn around and ball his fist up and bang him in the face and drop him to the ground. And so at one point, my father is up at the front of the stage with guys on the ground picking themselves up, rubbing their jaws, wondering what the fuck's going on. They're just trying to dance, right? My father didn't know about slam dancing. Had he known, he probably still would have beat the fuck out of him, because that's who he was. So everybody was at this concert. I think my brother was there with somebody. My sister and her boyfriend were there. It was like one of those things where everybody showed up. Even if you didn't know they were showing up, right? And it was a fantastic night. Yeah, I mean, it was, and my father was there, and that just made it all the more interesting. I think except for my mother, the whole family was there. And I didn't know that anybody else was going. Nobody knew I was bringing the old man, and whoever else in my family was there didn't know I was going to be there, and yada yada. But it was a great night, and at the end, we started driving home, and everything was fine. I mean, the acid wasn't that great; it just didn't affect us while we were at the show. And then we're driving home. And little by little, as we're driving home, we start to feel a little higher and a little higher and a little higher. And then at one point, we decide, okay, well, let's get off the freeway, the 15 between Corona and Lake Elsinore. And we got off at Tom's Farms, where the freeway used to dead end. So we were used to taking that back road all the way through down to all the way down into Lake Street, and the back way into Lake Elsinore, the side road into Lake Elsinore. And we got off. Thought, okay, well, this is going to be a little easier, so we don't have to be barreling down the freeway at 70 miles an hour, or trying to manage 55. And you don't have to drive fast on this road because it's kind of a windy road. So we're driving 35, 40, 50 miles an hour down this road. And we're getting a little higher and a little higher. We're not smoking anymore, but the acid is starting to affect us a little more, right? And we're finding out that it's actually good acid. It just takes a little while to come onto it. And Steve is driving, and all of a sudden we're just cruising along, and we come up over this little hill. And in the headlights, we're not going real fast, but in the headlights out in front of us, we see this little kangaroo mouse hopping across the road, right? And it was the cutest, tiniest little hop, 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 hop. So Steve slowed down, and both Steve and I just started laughing. We started busting up so hard that Steve just kept slowing down, and he pulled over to the side of the road, and he pulled over, and he got out, and he said, "Dale, you're going to have to drive." And he got out, and he went around to the other side. My father got out, he got into the driver's seat, and my father drove us the rest of the way home. And the rest of the way into Lake Elsinore from there, Steve and I could not stop laughing. As hard as we tried, as hard as we would just hold ourselves and giggle through our noses, my father did not find it at all funny. He was always the straight man, and he did not find it humorous at all. I mean, his knuckles were hurt. He just spent the night beating up guys for running into him, and then would have to turn around and defend himself from the friends of the guys that he would knock to the ground. He have to knock them to the ground, right? And he was a no nonsense guy. He didn't fuck around. That's the way he was. I remember that in the early 1980s, like 1980 or 81 or something, we were living in Temecula, and he was in Hollywood and was selling hash in Hollywood at one of the clubs. and got busted for possession of hash and had to go to jail. And so he was in jail overnight. And he went into the rec room in the Los Angeles jail facility. And he went into the rec room and sat down. And when he sat down, immediately a guy came up, and he came up behind him and put his face right up next to my father. This is the story that he told me. And I'm just telling you exactly the way he told me. He said that this guy, this big, mean-looking guy, he said that this guy came over and he got right next to my father's face, and he said, "You in my spot, I want you to get up." And my father just continued watching TV. And he said that guy came down again and got right next to his face. And this is my father, who was in Vietnam and was in the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles, and grew up in car gangs and local California gangs, hung out with vatos and beat up surfers. So this guy in jail, he comes down for the second time, and he puts his face right next to my father's head. And as he opens his mouth to say, "Hey, motherfucker," my father didn't lose a beat. And he said he turned around and dropped that guy with one punch, hit that guy square in his fucking face, and knocked that guy on his ass. He said that guy got up and he moved backwards, and he nudged the other guys out of his way, and he sat down behind my father. And he said that guy didn't bother me one more fucking time that night. Nobody else fucked with me either. He said the guys that were sitting next to him moved inches away from him after that. I learned that lesson, that you have to say, "Hey, I'm the baddest motherfucker here, don't fuck with me." But you have to do that with the baddest motherfucker there, or else people will continue to fuck with you. And as long as you do that and then lay the fuck back and don't go putting your face in other people's faces, go, "Hey, motherfucker, why don't you get up out of my seat?" As long as you ain't doing that, nobody's going to fuck with you. You got to, he said you got to choose off the biggest guy and take him out, and then go about your business, and nobody will fuck with you. Others will decide, who the toughest guy is, but they're not going to involve you in that because they already know they don't want to find out any more about you. And so I had to learn that lesson, but I wasn't a fighter. So I had to go all crazy on people. I had to just get all up in their face. If you come at me and you want to, "Hey, motherfucker, I told you to move," you want to do that shit with me, I'm just going to give you the crazy face. And if you want to find out what the crazy face means, well, then you gotta take it further. But when I was young, I would just use the crazy face, give them crazy eyes and let it go at that. And if they wanted to fuck with me, well, then I was going to have to go berserk. And that might mean picking shit up and smashing shit, throwing shit around, picking stuff up and smacking myself with it. And then, growling at people, smashing my head into things and saying, "Come on, motherfucker, you can't do any worse to me than I can do to myself," and trying to find that way out where I didn't have to go toe to toe with someone. Because while I never wanted to be violent with anyone, toward anyone, or at anyone, or because of anyone, I already knew crazy, so it was easy to do crazy as a defense mechanism. A bully catches you in the bathroom and wants to get all bully on you, and you just look at him turn red and start shaking, right? And maybe a couple of tears come down your eyes, out of your eyes and onto your cheeks, and you just start growling, and walking towards them real slow. I I learned at an early age as a little kid that if you go feral, nobody wants to have anything to do with you, even the bullies, even the mean people, because they get scared. They don't know. They don't understand, you know, why is this kid acting like a mongrel dog, you know, because that was the defense that I had. You know, all I could do was go crazy. You know, crazy was my defense. Cheers. And thank you again to Big Tree, America's Cannabis, and to my provider and delivery, Green Pearl Organics, out of Desert Hot Springs, California. Thank you so much, guys. From a guy who used to have to drive halfway across the county and then wait for hours and hours and hours just to get a dime bag. You have no idea what it means to get a half ounce delivered whenever you want, within a couple of hours of your phone call. I mean, it's just, now to me, that's the future. You know, driving through a strange town and saying, oh, look, there's a pot shop. Let me go in and see what kind of pot they got. Right? You all know what I'm talking about. There's you people out there who know what I'm talking about, right? All you old heads back in the day, pre-420 days, when 13 was the number. SoCal 13. Yep. I'm telling you, people, things have changed. Now, up here in the basin, the Morongo Basin, pot shops aren't allowed. We had a huge overrun out here with pot growers before it was legalized for recreation. Marijuana growers were, you could throw a rock and either hit an Airbnb, an artist, or a marijuana grower, right? That's all that was out here. So there was a lot of pot being sold illegally still. You could get on Craigslist and find somebody who would sell you pot, and you could drive to their place or they would deliver it. There were, you know, you could just literally get a job out here working under the table at a grower. The only bummer is that these places are illegal, and a lot of people who would be working thinking they got a good job at one of these places, they would, I mean, literally, the cops would show up to bust this illegal grower, and they would bust all of his illegal employees, people that were just there trimming weed for, you know, $10 an hour and a bag of weed. Yeah, and they're getting busted too, and they didn't really do anything. Yeah. So we had a lot of delivery places out here. And then down in Morongo Valley and a couple of other places, we had some storefront or two that you could go to up here and buy stuff. But they weren't really on the up and up because we still had recognized recreational usage legally. But when we did, before, in fact, years before we did, the valley, where Palm Springs area, North Palm Springs, and that whole Indio, that whole area out there knew that this recreational marijuana thing was going to happen. They knew it was going to become legal. And they invested millions and millions of dollars in grow facilities that you could move into and lease, just like a factory or a warehouse, right? Grow shops and solar facilities and lighting and entire gated you know, entire gated grow facilities, just like factories, right? I mean, it's just crazy. And so they invested all this money in all of this stuff, so that there's this huge industry right now in our area, which thankfully it depleted a lot of the illegal growers that were out here, because it taxed our infrastructure, the power grid, right? It really taxed that. It spread our police thin. It brought about a lot of crime and violence. People were getting killed just so people could steal their weed and their money. Other cartels would try to move in and take over places, just like they did up in Anza. So thankfully, most of that is gone. I'm sure there are still a few facilities around in the area. I don't know if they're legal. I don't think it's legal up here to do anything marijuana related. And we've got a lot of military and military families up here that may have something to do with it. There's a lot of speed up here still. This is like the end of the county up here. And we've got a courthouse up here, and they bring a lot of people out here from San Bernardino jail out here to the courthouse, so that when they're released out here. And if you're released from jail after 18 months or whatever, and you're released out here and you got nobody, well, then you're just kind of stuck out here. And we have such a huge population of transients who have been released out here, and you can totally tell who they are, right? They're walking around, and you can tell when they're fresh out of jail, because their hair is slicked back, right? They're wearing clean clothes that aren't all scuffed up, yet they've got a garbage bag tied up with their belongings over their shoulder, and maybe a grocery bag, because they just bought the first supply of stuff that they got since they've gotten released. And then you see them hanging out at Walmart after they get their sleeping bags or whatever. Some of them get a ride and get back to where they're from. Some of them have to stay in the area. Like I said, there's no place to live around here. So there's a huge homeless population of transient drug users, criminals, parolees, probationers, a lot of people who are kind of at odds with society and have no direction. We got a lot of that out here. And, I really feel for them. I mean, there are some where you can tell that they got out and they never went up from there. They went down from there. A huge homeless population out here. And you can tell the homeless regulars, the regulars you recognize, you see them all the time. You see them with their signs, you see them with their dog walking around, you know that they're staying somewhere relatively close because they look like they just woke up. There's a lot of little pop-up makeshift communities. We used to build forts when we were a kid, a little fort, a couple of pallets and a tarp, and we got a fort, or a canopy tree that you could go underneath and have some kind of umbrella from the elements, whatever that might be. I try to help as often as I can, but handouts aren't worth much more than that if you can't give a hand up. If I can hook somebody up with a couple of bucks, and and I can recognize need in someone, having been able to recognize it in myself and people around me, family and friends. So I know what it looks like when somebody is needy, or somebody is, you know, just ready to give up on themselves and give up on life and everything, you know. And it's nice to be able to help out, even with a couple of dollars. Or you know, I wish that I had more of a home or a life, or a, you know, a piece of property where I could actually help more, have a couple little tiny homes, and try to help people rehabilitate into a better life. You know, but if all I can do is go into the store and buy, you know, a sandwich, a bag of chips, some ding dongs, a milk, a soda, a water, a pack of cigarettes, you know, and give the person that and $5 or $10 and say, hey man, you know, I hope things get better for you. You know, sometimes that is enough to kick you up to where you're at a level now to where, okay, you know, I'm not so worried about my moment to moment needs. And at the very least, you know, I can have that cigarette for a day or two to suck on, you know, that's going to help me get my head together, you know, whatever it may be, you know, whatever the issue may be in your head, you know. I mean, I was homeless for a number of reasons, mental and emotional issues, because of where my head was at, family issues because of where my family was at. You know, my rebellious nature. But, you know, sometimes helping hurts if you're not helping the right way, you know. And so quite often than not, I will just kind of refrain from, you know, helping out. There are a few people locally that I know by sight and that know me, and that if I have a couple of dollars, you know, I'll slip it to them, you know, in the cuff, so they don't, you know, feel weird about it, and they know that it's just who I am and it's just my nature, and I'm, you know, because of how I look and how I dress, it's easy for me to make a connection with a lot of the transient population, you know. I've been a bum most of my life. I look like a bum, act like a bum, dress like a bum, feel like a bum, you know. But, you know, if it looks like it and walks like it and acts like it, it probably is. But that's cool. You know, I'm closer to real people this way, being who I am, because I've been the other way. You know, I've worn the shirt and the tie and the shiny shoes and the haircut and, you know, clean shaven face and all that. I've done that, you know, and it was just not me. Collared shirts are the yoke of the oppressor. You know, I try to avoid a collared shirt at all cost. If I had my druthers, I'd get my wife to take all of the collared shirts that I like and remove the collars and restitch them, because I just don't like the way the collar feels on me, or with my beard and hair. It just doesn't flow right. Maybe an old 1970s, you know, lapel long collars, you know, and big cuffs. I could deal with something like that, you know. But yeah, uh, I don't know. I keep going in so many different directions. Then I have a sip of coffee and hit another direction. I don't even know where to go back to, right? I know we were talking about pot shops up here. Pot shops I go to, the closest one is in like DHS, Desert Hot Springs. Green Pearl Organics, thank you. And then there's a million of them down there. I'm kind of a one-trick pony guy. I find a place that I like, that's good to me, and then I build a rapport with those people. I don't just go around from place to place to place to place, even though I can get really big discounts doing that. Every time you go to you're a new customer, you get these new customer discounts, which is great. But by being a repeat customer, I can get the same kind of rapport. And I can be on a first name basis with their bud tenders. I like that. And they keep track of my history so that I can say, you know what, I had this stuff like 3 visits ago, and it was kind of like this skunky pineapple-y stuff, what was that stuff? I think I got like an 1/8 of it. You got any more of that? And I can just use my history to shop from, and then they can use my history to gauge, you like this other stuff, why don't you try this new stuff? And most of the time, I'd say 99.5% of the time, everything is right. Every once in a while, you get a bad batch or something, right? Stuff that's a little headachy, or stuff that you're thinking, man, I knew that was too cheap. It was too good to be true. That was a good deal, right? Geez. But for the most part, man. Yeah, I mean, I get really good quality bud at a good price, from Southern California and Northern California, all California vendors, growers, and it's pretty cool. Before, back in the old days, when I was a kid, we had to get whatever our connection had, right? And you maybe had 1 or 2 connections in town where you could actually get, on any given day, you could get some weed, and maybe something else, something a little else. But for the most part, the weed was usually Mexican red hair. And that's just the regular old brick, 2.2 pound brick of weed of kilo, comes smuggled in from across the border. The same crap my parents used to bring across the border when I was a little kid, back when they was young, back when they was alive. And that was like the weed staple here in Southern California for like decades, was Mexican red hair. And it always looked funny because it was in bricks, and then it had to be steamed open and steamed back up into puffy buds and stuff. And even then it was really stemmy and seedy, because literally they would take a plant and just strip off everything off of the center stem and then put it in a trash compactor, right? Weigh it out into a bag and then stick it in a trash compactor. Just compact it down into a brick and seal it up and wrap it up in duct tape. And that was it. That was your weed. And if you were real lucky, you would get a local grower or a Northern California grower selling weed down here. And you could get some better stuff, some really good red hair. And then, of course, later on, the Northern California stuff came along. Right? But yeah, it was back in the day. You could only find a couple of good strains of pot if you were lucky. And now, I have to put on blinders like a horse going into these places, because I'm like a kid in a candy store, or a bookworm in the library, or a film buff in a video store. I mean, I got to look at every single thing, every single thing. I go to the record store and I have to look at every single record, right? And I stopped doing that. I stopped going into the record store and looking through every single record because I would walk out with a stack of records, or I would be in there for 2 hours, and come out with nothing, and so I wound up going into the record store. I go into the record store now with an idea, a genre, an artist in mind, right? And happy to accept anything that I find along the way. But I try not to go in thinking that I'm going to check out every single record in the store. No, I mean, my local record joints here, the Hoodoo and White Vinyl, they have thousands of new and used records. And I used to be in there. I mean, the lady at the counter, so you want to take control of the music and put some stuff on? I see what you buy, and I know that you've got good taste. And you and your daughter are in here for so long each time. You guys want to listen to something? And it was at that point that I thought, oh, geez, I'm becoming one of those nerdy regulars in a record store, right? One of those bearded hipsters. And so I started to pull back on not just my buying, but just the amount of time that I would spend in the record stores. But yeah, both of our, a lot of record stores up here, what do you call it, thrift shops and whatnot too. But yeah, I mean, where else do I get records? I get them online, Tower Records, some eBay stores, some eBay stores, discount CDs, discount records and CDs, I think is what they're called on eBay. Amoeba Records in Hollywood. That's a great store. You don't ever want to go in there thinking, I'm going to look at everything in the store. That is not going to happen. That ain't going to happen, dude. I walked into the store and I had to just immediately put my blinders on, right? Because I knew that I couldn't be in there. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to myself or my budget. And even then, I walked out with a couple of new records and some unopened 8-tracks, right? In fact, I bought every unopened 8-track they had? I don't know. I know I bought a couple. Usually I go walk into a thrift shop or a swap meet or something, and I'll just, if I see a stack of 8-tracks, I'll just buy them all. If I see any kind of old stereo component, all in one system, I'll usually just, give them as the lowest offer I can on it, and then just take it home. And then it goes up onto a shelf in my storage. Unfortunately, I have dozens of stereo components and units that need help to become functioning, as well as hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 8-track cartridges that need help to be functioning, not to mention the hundreds and hundreds that I have already repaired and made functioning. So yeah, at one point I'm going to be putting together an 8-track player and a case of 8-track tapes to gift to a raffle winner. But we're going to be looking at 100, 500 subscriber type thing at this point. And then you'll only be eligible if you comment and your name goes written on a thing and into a hat. But yeah, I mean, records. I've driven a long way to look at records and go to record stores. Idlewild from here up to Idlewild is like an hour and a half drive. So I've driven pretty far. Hollywood, Idlewild, Big Bear, Apple Valley. Gone, driven the mile to look at records, and then, or even get old, stereo equipment and that kind of stuff there, TVs and stereo components. This reel-to-reel right here, I've got 3 of those, and they literally just fell into my lap. I went to a garage sale, a gentleman that was relocating out of state, and he was selling off most of his music studio, and he had 2 of these things, 2 of these 1980, early 1980s TR 3000 reel-to-reels, and he was literally giving them away for the price. Both of them. One of them had a box, original box packaging and instructions, right? Both had been rebuilt recently, so new rubber on the inside, the gears and whatnot, which was really cool. I use both of these regularly. And then another one I found on Craigslist or something marketplace, and it was a guy in Corona who had another one, and it was a stronger price on his part, but it was like in mint condition, and he had just had that one repaired and overhauled, and clean as a whistle. It was beautiful machine. So I made a deal with him. He wanted a certain price, and then he lowered his price, and then he lowered his price again. And I hit him up and I said, "Look, man, I'll give you a better than what you're asking now. One of those previous better prices, if you can drop it off from Corona." And he says, "You know what? I'm on my way to Arizona next week. I'll take the ad off right now, and I'll bring it to you next week." And lo and behold, he did. He contacted me, and we met right on the highway down the street, so he didn't have to go out his way. And I brought the machine home without even testing it, and it was just a beautiful machine. I paid him right there on the spot and brought the machine home, plugged it in, turned it on, played a tape. So 3 of these units within a couple of months of each other just fell into my lap. So I took the last one that I purchased, because it had the one that had been repaired and maintained the best, and so I put that one into the box and stuck that up in my storage. So that one remains untouched, wrapped in its magnetic, anti-magnetic, anti-static bag with the instruction manual in the box. And I've got a few units like that where I was lucky enough to purchase them with the original box. And then when I buy an electronic component, I'll keep the box no matter what. My receiver and turntable here, I've got the original boxes for those, even though those are only a year or 2 old. My microphone here, I've got the box from my microphone in the original cases. Original packaging is pretty cool. I just opened up a 1980s headphone extension cord, 32 foot extension cord, the coiled one, like an old phone cord. So I just opened up one of those and meticulously took the staples out and put them back together so that I could save the original packaging. Because at some point I may decide to just put it back in the package and close it back up and stick it back on my shelf. And I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. There's so much out here. There's this gentleman out here in Yucca Valley, out Flamingo Heights area. He has this giant long storage container with air extraction fans at either end, ventilation fans. And this thing is filled wall to wall, the end wall, and then center shelves with LPs, 45s, 78s. It's just crazy. I went there once, and once again, I couldn't stay long because I was just overwhelmed. It was like, okay, I'm looking for these guys. Have you got this? And I found what I was looking for, and I had to call it quits because is it getting glitchy? Or is that my candle? Because I get so overwhelmed with quantity, you know? I mean, there's just so many records. It's like I'm out of there. You know, let me take what I can get and run, and then I'll be back and maybe stay a little longer next time. You know, but sheesh, that's just crazy. You know. So yeah, there's that. Hey, copy. Arg. But I wouldn't consider myself a collector of any one particular thing. I'm more of kind of a hoarder, and I like go through these phases. Like it's just going through a phase. Marge, he's just going through a phase. He'll get out of it. Don't worry about it. You know, he's just gonna wear lipstick for a little while, and then he'll be fine. Let's hope. For the love of Pete, let's hope. So I'm still in the LP phase. The LPs are the things that have lasted the longer over this last 3 or 4 year phase that I've been into. I got into 8 tracks very slowly. It was like I got a little 8-track thing here, and then somebody was giving something over away here, and then all of a sudden I wound up with a couple of 100 8-tracks and a couple of players. And then I couldn't get enough 8-tracks. Everywhere I looked, I saw 8-tracks. I was driving out of town. I was picking up cartons of 8-tracks, having people ship me 8-tracks. Dozens of 8-tracks showing up in the mail in boxes. Oh, look what I've got this time. And then I would sit for hours all day long. I would meticulously repair each 8-track, you know, and do like 100 8-tracks, open up 100 8-track cartridges and change the little foil splice, dust everything out, lube up the center, change the pads depending on what kind of pads they were, and then test them for tension and yeah, you know, and then get into repairing the units themselves, repairing cassette players and 8-track players, turntables, replacing belts and needles and stuff. And then I got to one point to where maintenance on these older things just became a drag, you know. The tone arms on the LP players, the record players, would be the biggest bummer, finding an old unit that had everything working on it. My daughter right now has the best vintage 1979 Sanyo turntable right now, and it's got the anti-skew and the counterweight and all of the armature and stuff, and everything works perfect on. The only thing is I think it's missing one little toggle, like from 45 to 33 and a third, right? Or the automatic toggle or something, but it's just missing like one little thing. Other than that, it's still got the top, and it's just a really clean, beautiful machine. She uses it all the time to play old and vintage records from my collection, and new and vintage records from her collection. She's got, you see these boxes of records behind me on this side over here, and we're right here, and she's got dozens of her own records, which is cool. She's 19. She's got more records at 19 that I had when I was 19. And she gets to play them on that vintage stereo, that Sanyo turntable, going through a realistic SA-102, I think is what it is, receiver, and a couple of Nova 12s, I think, realistic speakers. But she's got set up this old school stereo system for her, so she listens to music the way that we listened to music back in the day. All right, my stereo system has newer components than hers, and that's only because I listen to so many older, really old LPs that I needed something that had all the bells and whistles. And it's one of those DJ models, so that not only can I listen to something really old and screwed up that's got just scratches all over it, and sure, I can still hear the surface noise, but it doesn't hop all over the place. It doesn't just bounce that needle everywhere. I can set it in a groove, and it'll play it, and that's really cool. And another cool part is that I can slow it down, speed it up, change the pitch, so it's the same speed, but it's at a different pitch. My favorite part is that I can stop it, hit a button, and play it in reverse. Any record, and it's probably not the best thing to do on the needle, or maybe you never know. But when you're listening to something on a record, an old record, and you hear something, definitely sounding backwards, I can pause it, push reverse, and play it, and go back and listen to that now in reverse. And that's very, very cool. I do that with some Beatles and some ELO, and whatever else that pops up that's got something that's distinctively backward masking, man. I'll have to try that with some Led Zeppelin, even though most of it was bullshit. It'd still be neat to go back and listen to some of it. Because, man, there was this guy back then who used to bring us over to his house and sit around and listen to these records back, and he'd tell us why the devil is talking to us through this music, and we got to pray, and it was like, wow, dude, you are out there, man. You are really, really out there, while I'll say that I'm sure that in the history of musical recordings, there have been a lot of people that have wanted you to pull away a lot of shit from, their stuff, and have actually recorded stuff backwards so that you could get something out of it. When you get unintelligible gibberish out of something played backward, and then put your own thoughts and ideas into it, you're going to hear whatever the fuck you want to hear. The aliens are coming from Mars. You can hear whatever the fuck you want to hear. The devil is in your soul. And I literally had to stifle my laughter on occasion with this guy. But, you know, he was one of those connections, and you don't want to laugh at your connection because then you don't get connected, man. But I thought that was a little out there. Now, if you're going to do that with, you know, something off the Beatles or ELO or any of these other kooks who are going to do that, you know, he's not a kook in the least, but did Frank Zappa ever do any backward engineered stuff? I mean, instrumentally and musically, it happens all the time with guitars and keyboards and drums and stuff. Adding that element in reverse. But yeah, Frank Zappa, backward stuff. I don't know. I haven't heard enough Frank Zappa to know. But yeah, records, man, records, old stereo units. I was playing my records on a realistic LAB 395. That's cold. But the tone arm, the weight and stuff of the tone arm just fell apart one day. I mean, it was obvious that it wasn't in that great a shape to begin with. And then it just kind of kerplunked. And then I was left without a turntable for weeks. And I kept going through I went through like a dozen turntables trying to find one that I could repair cheaply and still get good use out of it. And I was using one unit and it just had this old needle on it. I couldn't find a good replacement needle. The needle was still good, but it was one of those flip needles with ceramic on one side and then magnetic on the other. And the whole thing was just really abrasive sounding. And so I gave up on that one, and I tried working with a couple of little older, cheaper Sony models, but none of them had the balance on the tone arm or the anti-skew device, which is really important on old stuff. If you don't get the anti-skew, then the needle can just go wherever it wants, right? Anti-skew kind of keeps it in that groove region that it's supposed to maintain. So I wound up looking and looking and looking, and I saw some at Walmart, some Audio-Technica, but they didn't have any of the bells and whistles that I like. They were pretty basic, $100, $200 record player, good needle, good player, good sound, good accessories, but none of them had the anti-skew and the tone arm balance weight. So being on the computer, on my phone actually, and searching for stuff on my phone, I kept getting more and more ads on Facebook from Audio-Technica now, because my algorithm said, hey, he's looking for a turntable, and Audio-Technica jumped on and rode the algorithm right to me and said, hey, check this out. And while I hadn't really heard a whole lot about Audio-Technica, all right, I liked what I saw versus what I saw in the new Victrolas and the new Crossleys and the other new turntable devices that were out there. And my daughter, she actually came to me and said, no, don't get one of those Crossleys or Victrolas, or don't get any of those new weird models, because they're crap and they screw up your records. And I'm like, really? I did not know that. And I won't say one way or the other whether they do or they don't. I'll leave it up to the consumer. My daughter talked me out of it. You know, I trust her judgment. So I kept getting these ads from Audio Technica. So I went to their homepage and I looked through all their models, and they had like just a great collection of colors and shapes and sizes and purposes. And I got to the professional DJ series ones, and there were a few different models. And I found this one that had the removable top. You could play it from any direction because it had two start buttons on it. So it had a back and a front start button, so you could have one off to one side, one off to the other, and be able to have them oriented the same way and still be able to use them, right? So I thought that was novel, but the most important part was that it had all of that armature strength and accessories and stuff, and it had the old school original cable plug-in with the ground, and that was like and then it had something I wasn't familiar with, was the magnetic drive. So there's a big magnet in there, a series of magnets that spins this thing around, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Probably until I have to pop the thing off again and clean it, but it's got a really nice needle. It's got a really nice balance on it, and I plugged it into the stereo that I was using was an STA 52B. I want to say a realistic STA 52B, and that's just a stereo amplifier, old school, with the big rolling dial and the little thing that goes across the front, and the bright lit window, the little Dolby dials, and all of the silver knobs on the front. I was using that because it's just a beautiful unit. And then one of the sides, the stereo, one of the channels blew out, and so I was only getting stuff through one speaker, and it was just kind of to the other speaker, and that was a real bummer because I love the look of that unit. So I swapped that out for the Panasonic that I was going to gift to my brother, but it went through the same issue with, it was either the player recorder for the 8-track either decided to start having issues, or it was the left or right. I'll have to plug it back in, or the left and right channel blew out. It was something like that. So it was like, geez, these old models, I'm going to have to recap this thing, put new capacitors on it. And I've never done that before. And I have to track down the actual issue before I can just start switching things. It's not like my car where that's the only choice I got. But so I've got this new turntable now, and I got no receiver to listen to it. So it's like, okay, well, I don't want to just try to fix up one of these old receivers anymore. It's like my listening pleasure has gone past that now, and I want more out of my stereo. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get a new receiver. And everything I looked at was just, either too chintzy or too expensive. And then I started looking at the Sony models. And I found this Sony model. For the life of me, I can't tell what model it is, but it's got the AM/FM receiver. It's got a couple of old school dials on it, so I can still switch from whatever I'm doing, and then I can crank that volume up. It's got buttons, so I can, push a button and pair it up with my phone because it has Bluetooth, and that's pretty cool. I mean, now I can just right off my phone pump on some freaking some Big Sandy and his Fly Right boys, and that's pretty awesome. And I can go from there because I can hook in all of my other components, 8-track, cassette, reel-to-reel, and multiples of. I can pipe my phone in and record that directly to a reel-to-reel or to an 8-track or to a cassette. And that's pretty cool. So I can make mixtapes and use music that I have here in this room, which consists of anything from LP, which is 33 1/3 speed, 45 speed, 78 speed. I've got 7-inch 33 1/3. I've got 8 tracks up the wazoo, and the wazoo is just overloaded. I've got cassettes and reel-to-reel tapes, not to mention what I can play, the audio and video that I can play from DVDs and CDs and VHS and Betamax and Umatic, and you name it, I can probably play it in here and play it through my stereo and then record it into an audio mixtape or even a video audio mixtape, and that's pretty cool, and at some point I'll probably do more of that. I've done a little bit of it, and it's been fun, cumbersome. It'll be easier now with this new stereo. Can you all hear the trash man? Did you hear that? Little guy here, he's still asleep. Anyway, the trash man's here, and he'll be going by in a second. And if you look out this window here, you can see him go by. And you hear him rumble, 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 rumble. I like the system that I have set up now. I still need to get this 8-track recorder up here in proper functioning order. This one right there. That one needs a little bit of maintenance. Or I'll have to swap it out for another one, but that one will need maintenance because right now I don't think I have a working 8-track. I don't think I have a working 8-track player or recorder. And yes, I have an abundance of blank tapes to make mixtapes. I've probably got more blank cassette tapes than any. I think I've got hundreds of blank cassettes, new, unused. Reel-to-reel is what I probably have the most of next. An abundance of literally a box full of unopened, unused, Realistic and Radio Shack brand reel-to-reel tapes. I'm kind of a Radio Shack Realistic kind of guy. But next would come 8 tracks. I've got a few stacks of blank 8-track tapes, unused, unopened. So I could literally make any kind of mixtape that you wanted, And I got enough music here. What I don't have here, I can find on my phone and pipe it into my stereo here. Okay, here comes the trash truck. Those guys are idiots. They should not be coming through here because there's not enough. It's a mobile home park, and there's just a turn here. There's a giant tree and not enough room to turn. And the only reason he didn't break any branches going through is because he goes through twice a week and breaks branches all the time. So there's just none to break right now. I don't know. There's something about the sound of a trash truck doing its thing in the morning. One of those morning jobs. Yeah. Anyways. So I got a lot of blank videotapes too. Unopened, unused videotapes. A lot of Sony. a lot of Sony and BASF, and I've used a lot of my brand new VHS tapes recording stuff for multiple different projects and home movie crap. But yeah, I can't believe it's been another 3 hours today. I woke up feeling like crap, feeling like I just wanted to crawl back in bed. And it's almost 8 o'clock. The dog's been out here for at least an hour, and he's just been sleeping the whole time. What a kook. What a kook. Anyways. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'll do some kind of drawing, you know, because I could do a drawing for an 8-track stereo and a box of tapes, cartridges. That would be a really cool to do, a boom box and some cassettes. That would be neat. It would have to be a really big deal to do a reel-to-reel player and some reels. That would have to be a really special raffle, but that's possible. I could do an all 4-in-1 stereo. I've got some great, like a half dozen all-in-one stereo units where it's got an 8-track player and or a cassette player and an AM, FM, and a turntable all in one with the cover. And I've got a few of those, and it probably wouldn't take much to get them up and functioning, since most of the components work. And I'm pretty handy MacGyvering stuff, but that would make a stereo like that would make a wonderful prize. That would be awesome. Because what am I going to do with this stuff, right? I mean, I really spent a pittance on gathering all of this crap, and it's all worth so much just as it sits, not to mention if everything on it is functioning, you know. I mean, literally, I can take a stereo that I bought for $5 at a yard sale and fix it up and make it worth $100 or more with just a little bit of work, right? So why not do that? And rather than fix it up and sell it for more than it's worth, it would be a better thing to just give it to somebody, because it would, you know, I would get more out of it if I knew that I was giving it to someone who really, really wanted it, because they put their name up and said, yeah, I want that, give me that. And, you know, and if you get lucky and your name is drawn out of the hat, then it's all yours, you know. And so I want to do that. I want to, you know, and maybe I'll do post some videos of me fixing up the different items to be gifted, so that you can kind of take place in their restoration. And yeah, that'd be neat. That'd be neat. I'll do that, because I'm sure I'll be able to find something, you know, that I could get to someone that they would just go, oh my gosh, this takes me back. You know, I remember when, you know, me and my father used to sit in his den and listen to this stuff on his old stereo, you know. And if I can do that for one person, that'd be awesome. And I hope that doing this kind of stuff, sitting here and bringing you in my world and letting you see what, you know, my time traveling is all about, that you'll want to come back and do some more with me. It's getting to the top of the 3rd hour here on the Mornings with Crazy Old Weird Bearded Guy. That's me. Thank you for joining me again this morning, weirdos, on this bright and shiny Tuesday morning. My dog Sam here keeps twitching and snoring, but that's about as involved as he gets in the morning. He doesn't get coffee, so he don't get to wake up like me. And he knows that as soon as I wake up, my mouth starts moving. If the camera wasn't on, I'd be boring him to death because I'd be talking right to him and he'd have to stay awake to listen to me. And he does. He does. He's a good listener. He knows I'm not talking to him, so he knows he can sleep. But those of you who do join me at some point from the playlist, post a comment, let me know you're there, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, do something. This is, like I said before, this is kind of a slow burn. This is a snowball effect here. I've never been known for doing anything on a really, really fast schedule. I always leave extra early when doing stuff so that I don't have to hurry, right? I think I got into this show early so that I can take my time making it come to its fruition. So come back and join me again and again and again, Monday through Thursday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we will talk more nonsense and nostalgia and anything else that you want to talk about. Remember, the movies of the week are anything Willie Nelson related, right? Or any of the other movies on the Thursday show that y'all want to talk about. Because if you've watched a previous show from the playlist and you decide, you know what, I want to talk about that movie, well, then chime in on a live show and we'll talk about it. I'm pretty open. I don't have a set schedule here. I just want to kind of do what I do in my normal life. And that is normally sit here and talk to myself. Any of you shrinks out there want to chime in and say, oh my God, this guy's nuts, let's put him on lithium. Well, you're probably right, and you can probably go fuck yourself. Because I don't do that. I don't do drugs. All I do is smoke marijuana, but I don't do drugs. So you can keep all of that pharmaceutical shit and all of that, what you call it, consumer drugs, alcohol and tobacco and whatnot. And you just keep it all, because I don't want it. But what I do want is to take a day trip, man. So I'm gonna take off now, and I will see you all tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. where we time travel and talk about nothing. Okay? Have a good day.